Good morning, YouTube. My name is Flightsimguy, and today I'm in one of my favorite commercial aircraft. Field Air's ERJ-145. I'm not flying anywhere today. Today I'm going to talk about bleed air. Another lame subject, but very important to learn. Alright, so what is bleed air? Quick definition. Bleed air is hot, compressed air that is delivered or comes out of the engine. When I say hot, it's between 200 and 300 degrees Fahrenheit. When I say compressed, it's between 35 and 45 pounds per square inch. So each of these engines is giving us this really tremendous blast of hot air. What are they used for? Bleed air has 4 uses. 1 is to start the engines. 2 is for engine anti-ice or anti-ice systems. 3rd is to provide air for the air conditioning, and 4th is to provide air/pressurization for the bathrooms. Alright, the first one is starting the engines. Bleed air is used to start the engines, and the engines produce bleed air. So where does the engine get the bleed air from to get started? Simple. It gets it from the other engine. Okay, I realize I did not answer that question, but the fact that an engine can get bleed air from another engine is very useful. That aside, how does the first engine get started? Well, there is an engine, a 3rd engine, in the back of the plane, and all commercial jet aircraft have this engine. It's called the APU, Auxiliary Power Unit. This engine provides the bleed air that you can use to start this engine or this engine. Well, this is a turbine engine also, so how does it get started? Well, the APU is a small enough turbine engine that it can be started with batteries. It doesn't need bleed air. You can start it with regular old the aircraft batteries. Then once that gets started, you can use that to power the air conditioning or anti-ice or whatever. But most importantly, the APU is used to start the engine. So let's go ahead and do that. In the ERJ, to get started, go ahead and turn on the batteries.
Power unit, okay.
Next thing you got to do is you got to confirm you got enough juice to start the APU. So to do that, turn on the avionics. Then you go to the systems page, systems, electric, and you want to make sure you have plus or minus 1 volt within 28 volts. Obviously, this is a simulator, so it will always be this way. You don't need to do this if you're only simming, but in the real world, you got to confirm that you have enough juice. And normally, you would test the fire suppression system before you start injecting gas into the plane, but this isn't simulated, so you can go ahead and start your APU. Now, to start the APU in the ERJ, you give gas by turning on tank 2's fuel pump. Tank 2 is where the APU gets its fuel. And this is the fuel cutoff valve for the APU. It is caged and guarded. It's dark, so it's on. The ERJ, Embraer, uses the dark cockpit philosophy. That means if it's not lit, if it's dark, it's working properly. It's in its proper setting. Let's go ahead and turn this on. And that flashing, that's the APU startup self-test. APU is spooling up. We are at 100% now. So we got the APU on, and then to get bleed air from the APU, you have to turn on the bleed air switch. That's APU bleed. By the way, everything I'm talking about here can be applied to just about every jet aircraft, except very light jets. Very light jets such as the Cessna Mustang, the Phenom 100, Phenom 300. Those guys don't have APUs, so they use the plane's batteries to start the jet engines, or you can use a GPU power cart. It's an external power. Also, for the Embraer 145, they use the dark cockpit philosophy, except for one button, and that is the APU bleed switch. When it's dark, it's off, so you got to click it to turn it on. So now we're getting bleed air from the APU. Now, normally in flight, or if you're doing a mission, you're going to do that, then you're going to go through your startup procedures. But we're not going to do that. We're going to go straight to engine start. So, when you go to engine start, you have to make sure that your air conditioning systems, packs 1 and 2, you have to make sure that they're off. These are lit, so they're off. That's on. When you do this, the passengers can twist that knob that sphincter type knob to open and close to get the air. But if you're going to start the engine, use the APU, you got to turn that off so that you can channel air from the air conditioning system to the engines. Whenever flying commercial, have you ever noticed that just before the aircraft starts the engines, the air conditioning or the air stops blowing? That's the reason why. So we're going to go ahead and turn off packs 1 and 2. And we can go ahead and shut this off also. Now we can go ahead and start with engine 2. There is some sort of tradition for starting engine 2 first. I don't know why, but that's what needs to be done. So you open this and you hit start. With the E-jets and the Embraers, there isn't a fuel cutoff valve that Boeing has where it reaches a certain level, then you turn it on. With the Embraer jets, it's completely automatic. Once you hit the start switch, it starts igniting, and then around 22 to 24 it starts injecting gas, and then the engine should light off. There it goes. By the way, that awesome engine sound is not the stock Field Air aircraft. That is TSS Turbine Sound Studios sounds for the ERJ. So we got engine 2 going. Now let's do engine 1. Okay, there goes engine 1. Alright, so we got a good start on engine 1. Now, once the plane's engines have been started, the engines are producing electricity. See, these are the generators for the engines. There's 2 generators per engine, and before the engines got started, we're getting juice from the APU. So now we can go ahead and turn off the APU. I always keep forgetting to do that, and the APU drains fuel from the engines. Can't tell you how many times I've arrived at my destination almost empty because I forgot to turn off the APU. Alright, so now I got the engines going. I need to give the passengers some fresh air. So turn off the APU bleed. You don't need that anymore. The APU is off. These are the bleed switches for engine 1 and engine 2. Once you turn these on, i.e. make them dark, bleed air is now flowing throughout the system. And to give the passengers their fresh air, we need to turn on the air conditioning. There we go. Turn on the gasper. Gasper, that's that knob overhead that you can open and close to give yourself air. So we covered engine start, we covered air conditioning. Oh, and with regards to air conditioning, here's how it's done specifically. Let me go ahead and pull up this diagram. The hot air, because remember, when air gets compressed, it heats up, and that happens in the combustion chamber in the jet aircraft. Well, not all of it is burned. Some of it is siphoned off or bled off the engine. That's why it's called bleed air. And it's very hot. It goes through an intercooler for the purposes of air conditioning. And then when it's injected into the air conditioning system, it's mixed with the recycled or recirculated air from the cabin. And they send it through filters. I guess they either remove or add humidity or moisture, whatever. And then it gets back into the cabin. So those are the first 2. Starting the engines, air conditioning. Next is anti-ice. I got a little diagram that shows how the anti-icing system works for jet aircraft. What it does is it takes the hot air and it runs it outside along the slats, the winglets, the engine inlets, all the critical parts of the plane that you can't have fail when you have icing. The hot air heats those up and keeps them nice and warm so no ice forms. That's this up here. With the ERJ, you don't even worry about it. It's on all the time. It's dark. I guess it pipes the air to those parts when it's needed. If you put too much hot air on metal, it will expand and warp, so I'm not exactly sure how that works. This windshield and sensors, I'm pretty sure the sensors here use heating elements to keep the pitot sensors and tubes open, and this I'm pretty sure is just either electrical or hot air or whatever, just like in your car. And last but not least, the bleed air. When you have rushing air, you can create pressure, or you can also create a vacuum, or you can also make it suck. So the bleed air from the engines is used in the laboratory, so that when you press the button on the toilet, it just sucks everything out, and ditto with the sink and whatnot. And I think that's it with regards to bleed air. I was wrong about the temperature. It's actually 200 to 250 degrees centigrade, not Fahrenheit. And what else? Cabin pressurization and air conditioning. I spoke about air conditioning. Pressurization is a little bit different. How aircraft maintain pressurization, it uses bleed air with regards to maintaining the pressure, but there's also an outflow valve somewhere on the plane. I'm not exactly sure where it is, but how this outflow valve works is whatever pressure the captain sets for the aircraft, and in the ERJ, like everything else, it's automatic. The plane will open and close that valve as needed to maintain the pressure. So let's say you want to pressurize a cabin to 8,000 feet and you're taking off from 1,000 feet. That valve will stay open until the plane reaches 8,000 feet, and it's at 8,000 foot altitude pressure within the cabin. Then the valve closes, and that valve maintains a constant, whether it's opening or closing, it does that to maintain the pressure. The MD-80, another weird, unique feature of that plane, it has this thing right along here, this yellow thing with notches on it, and it's constantly going back and forth. Well, what it's doing is it's showing the constant adjusting of the cabin pressure. Why does the pilots need to know that? I have no idea. It's one of those weird features of the MD-80. I saw it in this YouTube video. Another one is whoever designed the plane totally forgot about the compass. And what they did as a half-ass solution at the end was they put the compass back here somewhere. And for the pilots to see the compass, they have these little mirrors sitting out here. I'm like, oh wow. And it's little quirks like that why pilots love the MD-80. And anyway, I'm getting off topic. That's it with regards to bleed air. My name is Flightsimguy. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.